Alrighty, please stand by while I set up this live stream. Oh, I gotta edit the name over here too. Alright, I'm just fixing up the title of the stream before I begin. And today we're gonna do it under the, science and technology, I guess. I don't know, I have it in two different categories on the platforms. Shouldn't really matter, I can change it later. Oh, and I gotta update the thumbnail image. So if you give me 1 second, I would like to update the thumbnail image on the YouTube side. There we go. So now we're basically golden, so people can jump in and, so this is going to be a relatively quick live stream. There we go, I just hit record. I'm gonna try to make it quick because I wanna watch some anime and I gotta make some preparation. But real quick, what I was doing was before I was getting myself situated, I was riding my bike, got some exercise, get off my butt. Just, I had like a little bit of a neck pain, like a tight muscle. So I stretched it out, I massaged it, did some stuff, took a shower, and then took a nice bike ride because, moving around helps that sort of thing instead of being, laying down or being sedentary. That can actually make it worse. So anyway, first things first, I was, firing up my telescope. It was surprisingly going to be clear tonight. And the weather was going to be good tomorrow, so I decided I would set this up so I, was able to go up to the telescope in person, get it going. What's funny was I was actually going to bring the laptop in. In fact, I already bought the laptop in because my plan was to bring the Astronomy laptop in, which is the computer I use for controlling my telescope. And that would be so that I could like, whatchamacallit, do some maintenance on it because it needs maintenance. I mean, that laptop needs some work on it. Hey, it's good to see you, my friend Action Man. I need to basically try to get that internal Ethernet port working because I rather not use a USB gigabit Ethernet adapter if I don't have to. And so, that is the plan. And while I'm at it, I better get the YouTube chat up. There we go. Yeah, we got Aquatic August Adventures right here. Always keeping us on our toes with his monthly channel name update. But yeah, so, and I got this little problem I've been noticing with the lighting. I think it's when I have a lot of white on my screen, my eye blinks because of the, well, my eye's always wandering, but the chroma key gets a little messed up by the way the angle of the monitor light is hitting my eye. I gotta address that at some point. It's not a top priority. This little flickering is getting my OCD a little bit, but I'll work on it. Not a priority this instant. But anyway, priority right now is, yeah, I wanted to get the telescope working. So let's go and dive into that real quick and make sure it's working. We're not going to spend too much time on the telescope because there's a lot of boring downtime. But I want to talk about the new Babylon 5 cartoon, which I have the DVD here somewhere. I should have the DVD here. I bought it. I mean, it's a Blu-ray. Oh, yeah, here it is. Is this it? Yeah, wait, no, that's not it. This is a good movie. Oh, here we go. Found it. Got a Babylon 5 Blu-ray right here. It's the new Babylon 5 cartoon, The Road Home. And I want to give my initial thoughts on it. I actually recorded a reaction video. I just have to do some editing on it. But I was really excited the day after I took delivery of that. I took delivery of Super Dimension Fortress Macross. Do you remember love? As you can see, you can totally read the writing on the box, right? I mean, it totally says all of that. Actually, the only part you can read is Macross. And then the rest of this, we have to use my phone to translate it. We can literally use Google Translate to scan the image. It came in a weird packaging. Like, I'm going to show that right now because I was excited to get this because this used to be on YouTube. They used to be streaming this for free on YouTube. But I think now that they're licensing it in the US, they had, basically taken that away. I mean, I literally watched all of Macross 7 on YouTube, like, in its entirety. And then I had to download it from somewhere else. And now I have a bootleg copy. I'd like to buy a remastered copy, but really, there's not much room for remastering something like that anyway. And honestly, the 480p version of Macross 7 looks good. I wish I had the Macross 7 screenshots in front of me. No big deal. But yeah, this was like a weird way to package a Blu-ray. I mean, it's got this little piece of paper inside this plastic slip cover, so now I got to keep track. This is one of the reasons why I copy my movies to the computer and watch them on my media server or on my computer so that I don't have to worry about taking care of these little, like things. Maybe I want to keep this in good condition. I think it's legitimate. I haven't really investigated the barcode, but I think it's legit because I did buy a Chinese custom DVD, which did not was not legit, and that's okay. I knew I was buying an illegit DVD, Blu-ray. I bought it because I knew the Chinese guy who bootlegged it bought a Japanese version of the original series, Super Dimension Macross. He took the Blu-ray version from Japan, added Chinese and English subtitles to it when there were no English subtitles on it previously, and sold it on eBay for a reasonable price. So I was like, okay, I can live with that because it is better quality than the version I have now. Although the bootleg version of Super Dimension Macross, the original series that I have right now, does have an English audio track that doesn't exist on my new copy. So it's like you're either trading off quality. I'm thinking about doing an experiment. I might be able to combine the audio track from the Super Dimension Macross that I have already and add it to the higher quality Blu-ray video version. But this right here is the movie Do You Remember Love? And it's basically the entire TV series of STF Macross, but all of the events are condensed. Or at least it's like done it's got a higher production value. So whereas like the original Super Dimension Macross has, looks like they're in the city of like downtown Shibuya, which is like a city in Japan apparently, or a district. And in this, it looks much more futuristic. It looks a bit like Vegas and Tokyo, and that's kind of cool. And basically in the original Macross series, the characters reside on Macross Island, but in the movie Do You Remember Love, they're already on the ship. When you start the movie, everyone's already living on the ship, so they skip some of the events, and so it's not necessary to watch the original series. It can be a little helpful. It could be helpful just to kind of comprehend what's going on, but it's not necessary. It's just a nice little, it is a little helpful. But also, if you don't want to watch like the original cartoon and go through like, like if you're not, some people just can't stand to watch low quality animation, which I don't think it was low quality, but it was older. Some people feel if it's dated, they don't like that. This would be much more watchable. This does have a higher production value. The sound mastering is phenomenal on this. This version in particular has a surround soundtrack as well as a good quality PCM stereo audio track that I found to sound excellent on my TV's built-in speakers. But yeah, like I said, when you buy something like this is just like how I'm thinking about buying Legend of the Galactic Heroes, but it's so expensive that I wanted to maybe like have a trial run. So for $20, it was easier to have a trial run with this one here. This does not have English subtitles at all. It's pretty clear what it has. It even has an English PCM surround sound, DTS HD audio, and all of that, and PCM stereo sound, I should be saying more accurately in this case. Well, it says surround here, but it is stereo. Here we go, PCM stereo. It says PCM mono. That's not true. It's PCM stereo. I can confirm that. So there may be some discrepancies, inaccuracies here, but this is the right movie. The quality is great. This supposedly came out, well, it didn't come out in 2009. It takes place in the future, in the year 2009. And, that's basically something I'm pumped about. I am so pumped about watching this. Yesterday, I went to watch it on my TV. And it didn't have subtitles, so I went and I used my media server application, which is called MB, to basically add the subtitles to it. And it worked, except the subtitles were out of sync. And I've had this happen to me before while watching Godzilla. And I kind of just tolerated it because I have a setting in MB that lets me move the subtitle offset back and forth. But we are going to try to address that today. We are going to try to use this application to adjust the subtitles. The only caveat is, well, actually, I do have a copy of the movie. So I loaded the movie. I independently downloaded some subtitles from Open Subtitles, and I saw a video of an Indian guy using this program. So I'm hoping I can like kind of wing it and figure this out. But sometimes when I needed to edit subtitles in the past, why is that in the chroma key? Why is the YouTube chat in the chroma key? It's good to see you, Disney Sheepherder. Oh, I know what happened here. I'm supposed to be on the right side. There I am. Yeah, I moved myself to the left when I did a reaction recording yesterday. And early in the stream, Disney Sheepherder, I did briefly touch upon Babylon 5, The Road Home. And that's interesting. I got to fix a little glitch here. I got like, there we go. All right, that'll suffice. But yeah, so anyway, Babylon 5, The Road Home, I got that on Blu-ray. And I think it's pretty good. I don't know if you've seen this yet. And I want to thank you for hitting that like button, by the way. But yeah, pretty good movie in my opinion. I mean, like, I'm sure some people are gonna not be completely happy, but I'd say the voice acting was great. Like, pretty good. I mean, like, the lady who was doing Delenn sounded like Delenn. The guy who did Shakar did a fine job doing Shakar. The guy who did Garibaldi had a New York accent that was adequate to sound sufficiently like Garibaldi. Not everyone could be perfect, right? Sinclair was a little different, but that guy did pretty good. He must have been a professional voice actor. But one weird thing I found was, if you ever watched Babylon 5 before, the shadows in this, they, of course, with the, being an animated feature, you could have a lot more of the shadows in here. Like, instead of just showing one or two of them in passing, you could have a bunch of them, attacking you. And of course, it's got this whole alternate universe thing going on. So, it literally, like it says it right here, I'm not spoiling anything. In a universe of infinite possibilities, there's only one way home, And so you could see it's like a lot of like latitude. There's a lot of latitude in this, since you have this alternate universe thing going on. This came out like a few days ago. So yeah, any Babylon 5 fans out there, it might be worth checking that out. I got Mark D with a C on my phone right here, if anybody who wants to like give that guy a check, But now what I'm going to do real quick is I got to open up my remote access application real quick. Probably doing this in the opposite order, but I really want to check my telescope. Okay, so anyway, I was doing the initial setup on my phone before, and that's because I brought my laptop inside to effect maintenance and repairs on it. But when I realized it wasn't going to rain tomorrow, I really should have done maintenance and repair on my telescope like last week when it was like cloudy outside, and the week before that, and the week before that. But since it was pouring yesterday, I thought that I would actually have a chance to do it. And well, even though it was raining like cats and dogs yesterday, it turned out to, not be raining tonight and tomorrow. So this is the galaxy, or the cluster, star cluster M2. And it's pretty small compared to the image sensor, but it's an easy target because it's pretty close to my reticle. So we're telling the reticle to hit that target, and then we can do another round of plate solving, which basically means it's going to compare what it sees from the pictures over here to the actual star map in order to determine if I'm looking at the right target. And already we can see that it sort of landed on the target, because we can see that that's a star cluster, all right. Obviously, we just landed on the target, so we're going to, you're going to expect to see something like this. You're going to expect to see it drifting into frame like it is right now. I mean, you're taking a 8-second time exposure, as it says on the right, and the mount is swinging into position. That's pretty normal, and other mechanical things that go on. And so once I'm ready to take a picture, I'm going to, switch into, I'm going to open up this application here. And this is a auto guiding app, and basically it utilizes a second telescope that is piggybacked on the back of my main telescope. And so help me God, if I have to go outside and adjust the focus on that telescope manually, and with the way temperatures are tonight, it's a possibility. I really hope I don't have to do that, because I have a motorized focuser on the main. Bummer. It's sort of hit or miss here. I'm gonna try to wing it, but it's sort of hit or miss. Let's see. I'm gonna click on a star. Yeah, it could work. It could work. We got a nice little cross section of a pointy star right there. So we're gonna hold on to that star and lock on in a moment. I'd say I can lock onto it now. So let's lock onto that target. 3, 2, 1, mark. There we go. We're locked on target now. And then we don't actually have to do the plate solving again. It looks like when I plate solved, what happened was I aimed at this target. I told it, check the star map, and then it updated the position of the reticle to like over here somewhere. So I said, okay, great. Now you know that you're really pointing over here, Mr. Computer. Go point the telescope at the target I wanted. And actually it landed right on the target. So that's kind of cool, because sometimes, depending on the winter, the grease in the bearings needs to be serviced in the winter, or I should probably do it before the winter. Things get kind of weird, And so anyway, we're going to update the target to M2. It is a star cluster, and we're going to attempt to manually focus on that. I think it's pretty much manually focused already, to be honest. This could get a little tricky sometimes, trying to finagle it to get like the right focus. I'm going to just tell it to fire off some shots right now at this setting. Now, actually, it should be noted, this is what we're really looking at right here. We really stretched the histogram a lot. So now, this is where things get a little weird in this hobby. But I'm going to pray that it's already in focus, and I'm going to crank up the exposure time to something like 1 minute. And we'll see how that goes, and then we'll take some shots while I go over something else. Really, to get that star cluster in proper color, I have to take a picture in red, blue, and green. But we can see in the, the dome over my head on the azimuthal grid. This is the Milky Way. And so we might find something cool, somewhere in this area. For example, the East Veil Nebula is pretty cool. It might be a little too close to the meridian to do automatic plate solving, but this one actually I was working on already, so I should probably resume imaging this target just by virtue of finishing what I started on it. But, I gotta admit, star clusters are relatively easy targets, especially if we have like a lot of haze in the sky. I can't really tell because I'm stretching the crap out of that histogram right now. One thing I hate is the other reason I need to overhaul my laptop is because right now when I take a 1 minute exposure, I have to wait 2 minutes for the first picture to come up. So that's something that shouldn't really be a thing as far as I understand, and that's something I should be able to address, but it's going to be part of that overhaul work because I have not been able to fix it by just tweaking a setting here or tweaking a setting there. Yeah, man, star hunting is fun. It could get my channel up. I appreciate it, but I definitely am pretty casual with the astrophotography right now, and I've learned a lot in the past few years since I started. But it's definitely not like the quick 1-2 that you would hope it would be. And we got 12 seconds before the next picture comes up. It's not as easy as we want it to be, unfortunately. I started with an SLR camera because I'm like, I know how to use cameras, and I'm pretty good on manual film cameras and whatnot. So I thought, well, how hard could it be? And people kind of warned me and gave me some recommendations that made sense. There we go. So that's the star cluster on a 1 minute exposure. I don't know if it's out of focus, but we got different ways of stretching the histogram and tweaking that. We can do it manually if we want, which I'm sitting in front of the histogram adjustment, unfortunately. I'm sitting in front of it, so you really can't see. The longer we do an exposure, the more, light we get in there. But, I do this as a casual hobby, and if I can keep getting better at it, I'm a happy camper. That, is really all. I'm in a pretty challenging environment here, although that's not as much of an excuse. I know I watch a YouTuber in Osaka, Japan. I always forget his name. It's Super Voblo Star or some funny name like that. And this guy lives in Sakai City, somewhere in Osaka, has a reflecting telescope, I think an 11 or 14-inch telescope on his deck, on an apartment patio deck or whatever, and has his whole rig just set up, perched on the side of his house. And they must build the houses really solidly in Japan, or he might have some adaptive optics in his system or something, but he does pretty well for somebody who's not on solid ground, who's doing it off the side of his apartment. And part of that is because I have a 4-inch lens. He's got a 11 or 14-inch lens, so he's getting much more light gathering capacity, light gathering power. And it's not, light gathering is more important than whatchamacallit, way more important than a zoom, believe it or not, or magnification. Field of view can be helpful. Sometimes that's one of the things I actually went with a telescope with less field of view, because I found that was more forgiving when the mechanical stuff was giving trouble. At some point, a while back, my friend Punk Model, he's a penguin who appears on Wednesday night, 8 p.m. New York time. I think it's 7 p.m. 8 p.m. Texas time. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Texas time, 9 p.m. New York time. My friend Punk Model is a penguin. He appears on a show ran by a guy named Floral from Under a Rock. Floral arrangements like a flower. And a while back, he tuned in. He recommended putting on some classical music. And he had some good recommendations. And That worked actually. So if this was, a purely astronomical stream tonight, I would do that tonight. This is on a whim. I'm actually surprised the equipment is working as well as it is. It's always best in the winter, of course, assuming you don't have mechanical difficulty. But you know something, I have enough like content there that maybe as I process my past imagery, I can get something like that going. It's not a bad idea, Slimming, not a bad idea. And if anything, even if I sat down at some point and did some of the processing work on my solar imaging, that could be a good time too, and we could put some cool music there. Okay, so actually I wasn't taking any pictures until I clicked the button here. I don't even know if I'm in focus right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it be. I'm going to switch to the green filter. Wait, what happened here? There we go. So we want red, green, blue, and then we combine the colors to get like a full color image. But that's unless I decide to just jump ship and go to the Veil Nebula, which I'm seriously thinking about doing. Now, we're talking about 60 degrees, so it's still above the 45-degree angle on the dome right now, so to speak. Yeah, so it wouldn't be a bad target. Anything overhead or close to overhead is always going to be better. In fact, this target is, I'd say Veil Nebula is a little bit, it's slightly higher, actually. It's a little bit to the right. Like, I'd say the difference is negligible. One is better. They're both pretty good targets. Like, one is over here. The other target I want is here. It's tempting. Actually, it's a different target. Ooh, what is that? Cocoon Nebula. It looks like it's got some hydrogen alpha in there. And if we zoom out a bit, it looks like that. I kind of want to experiment on that nebula right there. But let's go to the Veil Nebula real quick because, well, let's see. Cocoon Nebula is, where's the degree number? 70 degrees, 60 degrees. Okay. Let's see real quick. Okay. East Veil. East Veil is kind of low. You know what? I think we're gonna jump ship to that. I mean, it's a tough call, but yeah, we're gonna do that. So I like a good star cluster, but my desktop wallpaper is already a star cluster. If you look at my desktop wallpaper on my right side monitor there, that's a star cluster. And you can see on this wallpaper here, there's like a red object here. So as I actually did this in black and white using a red, blue, and green filter, then I processed it somewhat manually. And we can see a red, which I don't know if that's a red giant star, but some of these have a bit more orange or red to them. Some of them lean more to the white or blue. And that's, so I was pretty satisfied with this image right here. And, when you process them and stack them, you get more contrast, more dynamic range, and you get better detail than what we see on monitor 1 right now. So this is pretty consistent with, like how you go from this to that when you combine 40 shots together and whatnot. So anyway, let's get to that Veil Nebula right now. To do that, we have to disengage the auto guiding, which looks like it's working, so that's good. And then we tell the telescope slew to target. And then while it's slewing to target, I'm going to do Veil Nebula. And so I always do East Veil Nebula followed by SLV, which means solve, as in plate solving. Yeah, man, Punkwater's a cool dude. I like the low light exposure, literally showing a low light log exposure, literally showing a trail of where the light has moved. Yeah, especially when we slew. In fact, you're gonna see something like that any second now because in fact, let's see if I crank this down. Okay, didn't do it. That's all right. So actually, if I didn't change the timing, it would have shown us some star trails right there, but they would have been, artificial star trails, so to speak. Right here now, what we're gonna see is actually landed on target already, so we're gonna get the focus. So right now I'm using they say the channel name 10 times fast. Floral from under a rock, floral from under a rock, floral from under a rock. I'm not saying it 10 times though. 3 times is enough. Right now, so for the viewing, I'm using if I'm understanding right, I'm using Stellarium. And I like Stellarium. They got a good phone app. They got a good web browser application, a good web-based application that runs in the browser. That's very nice. So now we're gonna get some focus here. So I control the focuser right here now. We're just gonna kind of wing it. We're gonna go in 10 steps and see what happens. It'll probably go out of focus. Actually, it looks like it got better for a second. In fact, now we had double stars when I did that because this is the result of a 4-second exposure. What I like to do is shorten the exposure when I'm adjusting the focuser. So we stretch the histogram. Maybe we try to get like less than a second if we can. I really prefer keeping it short so I can kind of see what my updates are doing. And, you know, so it gets a little tricky, but already I think we're pretty sharp. And so sometimes I have to lean in on the screen. But this is, okay, so we're using multiple programs. I should, you know, clarify here. So we're using, this is called SharpCap or SharpCap Pro since it's the Pro version, right? And you can use a lot of separate programs to control everything. But this program will control the camera. Like, for example, I can use a different program to control the focusing mechanism. But I don't because I like even gradually combining features into one program. And that's been working out pretty well. The only thing I can't combine into this program is the plate solving, which, I mean, I've done it before, but it's been hit or miss. So I'm going to demonstrate plate solving in a moment because plate solving is like super important. Oh, and autofocus. The fact that I'm manually focusing, trust me, I'd prefer not to. And in theory, it should be able to look at the star and calculate the full width half minimum, just like what we see in this program here. And an FWHM is, like I said, it means full width half minimum, and it basically generates this peak and it generates a number. And what it does is if it's coming into focus, that point gets narrower until it's like in sharp focus. Then once it starts getting worse or blurry, the program will measure that and then it'll automatically go back to where it was at the peak. Celestia, I vaguely remember. Now, is Celestia the one where like it's similar to open space or something like that? I think it is, if I remember correctly. And that's more like, if I'm remembering correctly, it's more like you fly around almost. You look at planets pretty close. You can play the objects in the fast forward. Like you can look at the solar system and see what it looks like. Look like what 100 years looks like in like 10 seconds if you fast forward it quick enough. If I'm remembering that correctly. Whereas Stellarium is more like you're looking at space from a ground location. And for what I'm doing, that's useful. But if I wanted to, like, you know, explore the galaxy, open space and Celestia are awesome. And I think I do have, I'm like 80% sure I have, maybe it's not Celestia. I thought I had Celestia on here. I mean, I have a folder for a database here, so it looks like I might have it. Maybe I'm launching it from a shortcut in the folder or something like that. Oh yeah, it's in my Steam library, if I'm remembering correctly. But yo, Slim, it was really good talking to you, man. And yeah, at some point you inspire me to maybe do a stream where I go over open space or Celestia, because those would be a lot of fun just to kind of tinker with, especially if you want to simulate something. You want to simulate what the alignments are going to be at a given amount of time, or you want to just kind of see like what things are like 100 light years out. But anyway, man, yeah, you have good, I appreciate it. And yeah, go get what you need to get done for tonight. Cool, and I'm glad I explained Celestia very well. And with that being said, Godspeed, Slim and Nim. So getting back to manual control, it looks like I am getting the focus in. And as you dial that in, you gotta like crank down that increment. You know, you don't want to like overshoot the mark. And so I do like 5 steps. 5 steps. Now it should be noted that as the telescope cools down, it's going to shrink. And as the telescope shrinks, it's going to like adjust the focus. And so you could have a temperature sensor that tries to like deal with that. If you can get the calculation right, you can get the autofocus. Not so much autofocus, just temperature compensation. But generally speaking, the best way to do is to get autofocus set up properly. And then set it up to automatically adjust the focuser every time you drop the temperature or the temperature changes by 1 degree. And one option is to buy a $4,000 focuser, assuming the price is still $4,000. That would be like a good option. That's kind of cool. I do vaguely remember a feature like that. All right, Mr. Disney Sheepherder, you have a good night too. And yeah, I'm gonna do this for a little while. But yeah, if I do anything interesting and I'm gone after I go to watch my Macross Do You Remember Love movie, skip back, see if you see anything that piques your interest. But that being said, man, you have a great night, and it was good seeing you, Disney Sheep Herder. I'll see you tomorrow for a Snow Dub show. Alright. Yeah, this can get tedious and boring during these parts, I'll admit. Especially like when you overshoot the mark. Yo, what up, brother? Yeah, I gotta get autofocus working at some point so I can automate that. If I can get everything automated, I can go to bed on a work night and like, get things going away. Just get things like get like a list of targets, have it aim at the target automatically, have it verify that it's looking at the correct target automatically. If it's not, it'll be sent to the target automatically. And then it'll run the autofocus again, and then it'll start taking pictures. Then every time the temperature changes, it'll rerun the autofocus, and it will take more pictures. That is the goal. Talking about 4K like a simple night. It's good to see you're Barmy. Talking about 4K like a simple night with cheap hookers. Yeah, so I have a little conundrum. When I was gonna buy the Babylon 5 movie, I had the option to get it on 4K. I think they have it on 4K and 4K HDR, which is high dynamic range, basically more color, better contrast ratio. And you benefit from that if you have like a modern, HDR TV. If you have whatchamacallit, like one of those OLED jobs or whatever, or one of the Magic OLED ones, the ones that are even better. Something that tries to meet or exceed what plasma can do. And like, for example, I want to get Lord of the Rings on like, I definitely want to get Blu-ray versions of Lord of the Rings at some point that are 4K or something, but they are charging a lot for them at the moment. But Babylon 5, the new one, is a cartoon, so I don't think I'm going to benefit from 4K even if I had a 4K display. The HDR, maybe the shading or the coloring would look better in high dynamic range, so there's that. But for now, yeah, we're running a camera. We're not running the camera in 8K mode. It is ironically in 4K mode, interestingly enough. It does have 8K mode, but when you are working with smaller pixels... Whoops, I had the wrong setting. When you're working in higher resolution on the same sized image sensor, you have smaller pixels to work with, and that just means that you can collect less light. So believe it or not, a lower resolution sensor for a given size will give you more light gathering capacity. Okay, so that's going to be like boosted up gain. We're going to take some pictures. We're going to use plate solving. Now, plate solving is where we take a picture, in this case about an 8-second exposure, and we basically tell it to compare it to the star map. And then based on that, it'll determine if I'm looking at the target I want to look at. And if I'm not looking at the target I want to look at based on, there we go, one more picture coming up, there we go. It'll correct it. So we're going to click on solve. And what it's going to do is it's going to take this reticle that is aimed at the East Vale Nebula, and if it's not on the correct target, it's going to figure out the pattern of the stars that it is seeing, and it's going to move this, target HUD or reticle to its real position. And once it's looking at the real position, I can recenter the actual target. Practical question. But if you don't know, just move on from it. Most of my movies I download in HEVIC format, better compression, I assume, for good quality. Do you recommend this? I do. So what I've been doing lately is like Blu-ray uses X264 or H264, whatever you want to call it, right? In fact, that's actually might be something I'm doing during this stream at some point, because I need to fix the Blu-ray version of Macross Do You Remember Love. So every Blu-ray is basically, video codec is going to be H264. So whether you're going to see like in codec like this, if I take a Blu-ray movie off of a Blu-ray disc, which right now this is not a Blu-ray, so let's grab a Blu-ray. I hope there's not anything sketchy on the screen here. I'm just going to make sure nothing sketchy pops up. Okay, good, nothing sketchy. So I got to go to a network drive, right? I got to go to /. So I got to find my network drive, go to my Blu-ray rips folder. And so here we are. All of these are Blu-rays, like Galaxy Express 3.9, Babylon 5 cartoon, SDF Macross, and some, these are like legit Blu-rays, like especially Galaxy 3.9 or, this one here. And when we open it up, it's going to detect that it's an X264. If you open it in VLC, it'll say H264 or X264. And so, yeah, I actually do prefer converting the X265. Why? Because, for example, here's a good example, great example. 5 gigabytes per half hour of this, Japanese, of this Gundam series, right? In its original X264 format. And I can get it smaller by using an X264 codec and compromising quality using a different bit rate or a different rate factor. And whether I'm using handbrake or hybrid, because the video encoder I just flashed on my screen is called hybrid, but I still use handbrake as well. I use them depending on which one. If I run into a problem with this one, I'll use handbrake. And you can see for some things, I'm using H265 10-bit. Why? Because I can get a smaller file while retaining the same quality. That's basically why I'm using 265, because I'm not going to get a smaller file using the same codec as a Blu-ray file, as a Blu-ray format. I'm not going to get the same file size. I'm not going to get the same quality if I'm seeking to get a smaller file. So if I want smaller than 5 gigs, I'm going to have to make some kind of compromise. It may not be perceptible. Most people might not notice it or care. But yeah, H265, aka Havoc, whether it be, 8-bit or 10-bit, or HDR at 12-bit, whatever, which I haven't really even used, I'm currently sticking with that. Now, why would you not want to use 265 or Havoc? Well, as a friend pointed out, why he chooses not to use it on his media is not at all, dude. Dude, I cover this shit in like multiple streams. Like, like I don't mind one bit because I'm just glad that somebody actually brought it up that is interested in the topic. Dude, you have no, I don't know if you have any idea how many times I've covered this like in different ways. Like there's a few videos and streams where I dive into this stuff. So it's kind of funny. But not a derailment at all in this case. Very interesting to me. So a friend of mine uses, MB Media Server, and he keeps re-encoding everything that he has to 264 without Havoc because of compatibility purposes. And he's not entirely wrong. Like if I had a PlayStation 3 as my primary media player, I might say, you know what, I want to keep some 264 non-Havoc versions around. But I decided I'm going to let my GPU do the transcoding. My server has a NVIDIA Quadro that is able to use the NVIDIA encoder in real time. It's able to, run at a, faster frame rate than the actual playback. And so if I'm playing the movie on a device that supports, we got to synchronize them out. This target reticle is going to move. Not bad. Not bad. It only moved up a little bit. All right. So we're basically on target. So I'm using 265, but like I say, trial and error compatibility. If you run into network issues and skipping, I'm a bit OCD. So when I was doing, one thing I noticed was Galaxy Express 3.9 is such an old anime that the stuff is like super grainy, and that's okay, but the thing is that I want to be faithful in reproducing it, but it seems that if you use an animation preset or animation profile in some of the popular video encoders, and they have them in like 2 ways. You got like let's see, it's 264, so we could do 264 with an animation preset or 265, and you got similar variations of these presets in Handbrake as well. They got animation, grain. It's like, well, Galaxy Express 3.9 is anime. It's animated, but it is kind of grainy too. So it's like, which one do I pick, And it seems that on animation, if that's not grainy, using the animation preset might actually give you a more optimized file size, a good balance between quality and file size. But when it's grainy, the animation preset seems to make things a lot worse. Like I'm literally going from getting a good quality 900 megabyte file down from 5 gigs, going from 5 gigs on a Blu-ray in a half hour at 5 gigs down to 900 megs. And then it's suddenly becoming 2.5 gigs when I'm using the animation preset or the grain preset. So it's I'm like, okay, let's stay away from that, And basically for the grainy old anime, I've had to decide that I'm willing to tolerate a larger file because of that. Whereas with the more, smooth animation that doesn't have graininess on it, I've been able to maintain quality while getting a smaller file size. So that's pretty much what I've learned. And I'd say, yeah, you stick with 264, you're going to retain compatibility. If you go with 265, you could potentially get better compression. I do have to do a video. I was going to do it this week. I might do it tomorrow. Probably won't do it till next week after Wednesday. But one interesting thing, whether you're using Handbrake or the other one, and let's just make sure this thing is teed up. Okay, so it's taking a picture. Let me just verify this thing is doing what I want it to do. In fact, yeah, we're going to have to crank up the exposure time on this because we're not seeing the Veil Nebula yet. And Oh yeah, it's a 7-second exposure. We're not going to see anything in a 7-second. There we go. We're going to crank it up. It's going to take it 2 minutes to upload to update that frame. So one thing I learned was in a lot of these video encoders, whether you're using handbrake or hybrid, in both H.265 and 264, you're going to see an encoder preset that says fast, medium, faster, fast, medium, slow, slower, slow, very slow. And the regular 264 encoder, non-HEVC, the slower it goes, you'll either get better quality or a smaller file. And it literally says that when you float your mouse pointer over it, it'll literally say that you'll either get better quality or a smaller file or both, the slower that you can tolerate. So usually pick the slowest setting that you can tolerate. But I came to learn that with 265, I don't know if it says that here. Yeah, so this is wrong. So when you switch from 264 to 265 in Handbrake, it says the same information next to the tooltip. It literally says that you'll get a smaller file or better quality if you pick a slower setting. That is categorically wrong and inaccurate. And we can prove that because I have the queue right here and the file names don't lie. Well, also it says it here. So 264 follows the formula. Slow, slower, very slow. So, okay, let's look at a slow file. Statistics, 700 megabytes. Slower, 673. So that's smaller. And then very slow, 619. So the file size gets smaller, and at the same time, we go from a 9-minute encode at 700 megabytes to a 36-minute encode at 619 megabytes. And this is about 24 minutes of content. Somewhere in here it tells us what frame rate it ran at. So let's just say it's like 24 minutes, and it says, let's say it's like 24 frames a second. It's going to run a little bit quicker. Like the 9-minute encode, it probably ran at like 60 frames a second. For the 36-minute encode, it probably ran at like 18 frames a second. But now if we look at 265, we got medium, 16 minutes, 400 megabytes medium. Now let's try I didn't put these in order, but we're going to look for a 265. I did 265s first. Okay, medium, fast, cool. So fast, it says 320 megabytes, 10 minutes. At the slower speed, which is medium, it's slightly smaller, 2 megabytes smaller, 318 megabytes. So it's 2 megabytes smaller at the slightly slower speed, but it took 7 minutes less. So it was considerably faster. Just by going from fast to medium, it's considerably, it's considerably slower, but I'd say going from 10 minutes per encode and making it 2 megabytes smaller and, wasting 7 minutes is worth it, in my opinion, because the quality should be better. But basically, yeah, with 260, my brain is farting. I'm sorry. Give me a second. Let me read your message. I mean, I'd say, yeah, like I said, I'm favoring 265 HEVC right now to get better quality. And sometimes I'll pick the faster preset so that I'm not making the file too much bigger. But it's not so much the file size, because I find like what's 30 to 60 megabytes, what's 2 megabytes, what's 12 megabytes. But it's when you're talking about like taking a half-hour cartoon, and instead of it taking like, a half hour, it takes 40 minutes. I can live with that. But if it's going to take 90 minutes to do a half-hour cartoon, now that's overkill. So that's pretty much why I'm doing these. And that's why during the week I'm going to do, I'm going to put together a spreadsheet or some kind of list that compiles all of this information here and puts it in like a neat, orderly, list. And what up, Nora? It's good to see you. Holy cow, it's like 4 a.m. It's good to see you. It's like, well, it's only 3 a.m. It's not that late. It's pretty early right now, actually, right? 3 a.m. It's not 4, but it's good to see you. It's wonderful. But, I'd say, it's like a balance. I think 264 is basically fine right now. But once again, I'm pretty OCD. Like, I'm looking at that screen and I'm like, is the color crushing? So, when like the color black, you have like a shade of black with some shades of gray. And instead of it being gray, it looks kind of splotchy. I'll adjust the settings to get rid of that quality loss. But then I found out that with the really old anime or the old cartoons, sometimes that's like normal, like especially if it's like a low quality animation cell. It's got like mad film grain on it. At that point, with Galaxy Express 3.9, which I can definitely think that would be a great example to demonstrate with real quick. So here's one. We got Disk 3 Galaxy Express 39. It's a 40. Now this one was weird because when I went to encode it, all of the episodes, 24-minute episodes, were mixed in a 43-minute file. And I'm sorry for the loud noise. I'm going to lower that so I don't get copyright claimed. So all of the episodes are chapters. And when I flip my mouse over here, I can see the chapters. So when I run it through the video encoder, I actually have to tell it, like, do chapters 1 through 5, chapters 6 through... So for the next episode, it would be chapters 6 through 10. But my point is that you can see, like, the grain, the film grain dancing around right here. You can definitely see that. It's, you know, this is just what it was at the time, you know. And at the same time, you also see, like, there's, like, brown discoloration in the corner. You know, you got a lot going on here. And then this galaxy glowing here, but it's got, like, it's got that blue neon thing, but it's also got that film grain. But somewhere in there is, like... Let me see if I can find an example here. I mean, basically, like, you got to be careful. I had to be careful when I was encoding this, because what was happening was I was trying to crank up the quality and make the file larger and larger to fix problems that were not there. And then at some point, I went back to the original copy. This is the original Blu-ray disc right here, or at least a copy that was not re-encoded from the original Blu-ray. And when I went back to this, I realized, well, wait, I can't... If I lower the quality, I'm not losing quality because the quality is already the way it is. So... that was my issue. That was an issue I ran into. But you can see, yeah, MPEG-4 AVC. This is X264 right here. 24 frames a second. So I always tell it to use the original frame rate. I say constant frame rate. Don't change it. I think this might be 10-bit color. This is always annoying. You got to, like, Google this if you don't remember it off the top of your head. Or use an application like Media Info. That's probably not super important. You'll probably waste mad extra time trying to confirm these little details if you, like, get into the weeds of it like that. But bottom line is, I think you're probably fine with 264. You get good compatibility, you get a good balance. But if the quality is not satisfactory, and if you want better quality and a smaller file size than what you're getting with the 264, then give Havoc a chance. If you get, like, multiple upgraded computers and multiple upgraded devices, and you're not sharing your media with your family, then maybe you would consider Havoc, you know. But I'd say, like, generally speaking, like, yeah, I probably... the folly in my ways is that if I wanted to share content with my immediate family, they could be playing it on whatever, God knows what type of device. And so, in that case, it probably would be advantageous to stick with 264 as opposed to Havoc. And maybe save the, you know, Havoc stuff for things that, like, you know, are really important to you. Like, if you spent a lot of money on a, you know, $40, $50 Lord of the Rings Blu-ray disc, then at that point, do that one in Havoc, you know? And look, if you're using a media server like MB is really, really interesting. And I'll give you, like, an example. Okay, so if I go into MB, I can go into any given TV show. I can go into, you know, anime or whatever. And I don't think I have multiple versions of much in here. Let me see if I can find a good example here. Right now, I'm still labeling the file names for Galaxy Express 39 so that everything comes up in the right way. Let me see if I can find a good example. I just gotta find it here. So right now I have one copy of Macross Do You Remember Love, and in that one copy, it's got the Japanese subtitles, or it's got Japanese audio. 3 audio tracks are built into the file, so I can select those during playback or after. But what I'm looking for is not a do. I'm looking for a regular Galaxy 39. I need to find something that has multiple versions. Is this what really drives the point home about a really cool feature in this media server? Why can't I find it all of a sudden? Did I delete it? Did I rename it? Uh-oh. Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is an interesting example. So in the folder that these file names reside, see how it says version? So all of these have one subtitle track built into it. Well, this one doesn't, but We can find one. Okay, this one here has an English subtitle track in it, so we can turn the subtitle track off and on when we play it. But you'll see there's 2 versions. Now, why are there 3 versions? Well, if we go into the folder with the file name in it, what we did was we did something like this. So if you look at this file name here that says Macross, Do You Remember Love? And essentially, when you put a file into a folder in MB, the first part of the file name, you got multiple files that have the first part the same. So you have 2 files here that have the same file name. And anything you put after the hyphen, so you have a hyphen over here, right before the file type, that differentiates the version. So if I was to put these 2 files in the same folder right now, a similar pull down menu would appear here. And all of the text you see in this pull down menu where it says it's basically like a description that I understand, but all of this comes after the hyphen. So all 3 of these files here have the same file name. All of them have the same name. It says Galaxy Express 39, Season 1, Episode 60, Planet of a Pint-Sized Room. And then after the name of the episode, there's a hyphen that says Havoc, or seek the quality setting 20 or 22. And this may not be the cleanest example, but if we scroll down, we can even see the file names. You can see, here we are. That's the file name. Galaxy Express 39, Season 1, Episode 60. Then, right after the hyphen here, there's no hyphen. Up to this point, there's no hyphen. Even though it showed a hyphen up top, there's no hyphen. But once you put a hyphen in here, this is the first version. Then, the second version is listed here. Same thing, same exact file name, except once again, we have a hyphen. And right after the hyphen, we got a different label. So, what I like to do is, when I'm running the video encoders, and I'm being OCD about it, I lost it. Where is it? If I change the setting here, let's say instead of picking quality factor 20, I pick 22. I'll put that in the file name right after the hyphen. You can see I have a hyphen here, followed by that information. So if I put, when I'm done encoding this, if I put 3 versions of Macross Do You Remember Love in the same folder, one of them could be Havoc. So this one is 265 Havoc. I could do another one in 264 non-Havoc. Edit the file name, everything after the hyphen would say 264 or something like that. And I could directly compare them. When I go into the folder, I can say, okay, well, let's play this back and see. And these, I haven't been able to visually see a difference. But if I was to say pick a quality setting, that's the higher this number is, the higher the quality factor or rate factor, the lower the quality. You don't need the number to be lower than 20, basically. But the higher this number is, the lower the quality and the smaller the file. So there's 2 ways to get the quality to be different. It is by changing the speed, but also changing the quality factor, which is sometimes referred to as RF or rate factor. And instead of you manually doing the bit rate, you basically just work under the understanding that a number 20 is as low as you need to go to get good quality. Anything lower will be like a humongous file. And 23 is probably like the highest you want to go. Anything above 23, you're going to have a smaller file, but your quality is going to get progressively crappier. Now, let me get back to the chat because I haven't read the chat in like a minute. 2 minutes. It is going to be the future. Yeah, it sounds like Havoc. I mean, I'm going with Havoc. I think it's actually, there's no E in there. I think it's like H-E-V-C, right? Unless I think you might have typed that backwards, which is fine. But yeah, Havoc. It's like one of those words that doesn't have the vowel in there, but you pronounce it like that. And damn, this is going to take a freaking half hour. Did I finish the other one yet? Did I add the subtitles to this shit yet? Okay, so this one here came from the Blu-ray disc. It doesn't have subtitles, but what I did was yesterday I used NVIDIA Encode, and this is what I use in OBS. So if you look over here, we could pick, instead of 264 or 265 Havoc, we could pick H264 NVIDIA Encoder, or there's even a Havoc 265. Is there? Yeah, there's a 265 NVIDIA Encoder. Now, it uses the GPU, and it does it ridiculously fast. But let's say I pick a quality setting of 20 or 22 or 23. Let's say 23 is acceptable. Let's say you, even though it's a bit of a compromise in my opinion, let's say you looked at it and said, I can't see any issue with the setting of 23 using the regular 264 or 265 Havoc. The minute you switch into NVIDIA Encoder, using the same setting that you would use in the other one, basically regular 264 and regular Havoc are CPU based. They use your CPU. That means that when I'm running that video encoder like I'm doing right now, it's literally running my CPU at full, like all the cores are working their asses off right now. My computer's using more electricity. It's pumping out more heat. It's taking longer, but it's doing a better job. CPUs are better suited for like optimizing the shit out of it, you know, like getting that file size to be, you know, like small while getting the best quality. NVIDIA encoder uses a specific ASIC, a specific component on the GPU to be dedicated to video encoding that generally does not take away from the gaming or the 3D performance. And this can do it obscenely fast. So I use it in OBS, but what I do is, because I know that if I'm using the same settings I use normally for a 264, 265 encoder, I know that the quality is going to be a little bit lower. I actually then just tell it use an even higher bit rate. I'll either use a higher constant bit rate, or I'll pick a lower constant rate factor in order to get like higher quality and a larger file. And so in other words, if I want to get the same quality out of the NVIDIA encoder as I do get out of the CPU-based encoder, I have to be willing to tolerate a larger file size. So it's not preferred for my media library. A friend of mine argues that, you know, for the amount of electricity you save, it might be worth it. But now I'm tapping into my storage. You know, I spent enough money on to build my 40 terabyte ZFS array. So, you know, I'm not really trying to, you know, I'd rather use clock cycles and electricity to get a smaller file, better compression with better quality. And that's where I'm at right now. I just got my 139 processor. 139? i39? Is that a new processor? Is that 139 some new joint here? Am I so out of the loop? Am I such a boomer? Oh, wow. Cool. I see what you got. Ah, the 13900 or whatever the heck it is. That's nice. Comes in a nice box too. Like, what is that? It looks like a disc. Is that a fan? It come with a fan? That shit. What is that shit? I see, like, it looks like it comes. Is that just the packaging? My friend who sold me the i9 for his computer, the 9900K, that shit came with a freaking dodecahedron. It looked freaking cool, but it was a ridiculous box. Yeah, this thing, at some point, a future upgrade will have this. Or potentially one of my future builds will have this, because this is a beauty right here. Wow, 5.8 gigahertz. But I just know, like, I like the performance cores. And does this have E cores and performance cores on it? I think, yeah, it looks like it does. Wow. 8 performance cores, 16 E cores. Nice. And I know these can put out a lot of heat. So one issue is that Intel, they have their, I recorded a video on this. I don't know if I'm going to upload it because it was so much detail, but they have their, not like, for example, the i9 is rated at 95 watt, the one I have. But the reality is it'll use anywhere from 170 to 220 watts when it's under load like it is right now. Because the only time that this CPU is using 95 watts is when it's in a laptop that forces it to avoid using turbo mode, or when I'm not using turbo mode. Basically, it's only going to use 95 watts when it's staying at 3.6 gigahertz like it says over here. But clearly I'm running at like 4.7. So I'm not running at 95 watts right now, am I? So, you know, that means that when I'm shopping for a cooling device, some of the cooling devices will tell you like, oh, this cooling device is rated for this thermal design power. Others won't. But if I plan on using this on a future build, I might just pick up this one now and use it now. Basically, I have a very, I got to take pictures, or I got to refine the pictures and videos I already took of the inside of my tower in order to explain in the upcoming video what my build looks like right now. But let's just say I had like a custom radiator. I bought an AIO radiator, and then like I kind of like it was so tight, the spacing, that the fans were grinding, rubbing against the radiator, making this ugly noise. And right now I literally have like one fan instead of the 3 fans I previously had running around the radiator. And so I basically have to make sure my air conditioner is set to 82 degrees when I go to work to remotely access my computer and prevent it from overheating and freezing up. But this would solve that issue. I think I'm going to move away because I really don't need the liquid cooling. The only reason I bought the Corsair all-in-one liquid cooler, it wasn't terrible. I could repurpose it for some project. Like maybe even use it in a thermoelectric cooling device, but I'll get you my Twitter. But the problem, the only reason I bought the liquid cooler was it was available the same day. So the day I got my CPU for my friend, he like, I wanted to build that computer the day I bought the CPU and motherboard for my friend. And so basically, yeah, I'm getting that Twitter here. So basically what I did was, yeah, how do I do this here? So bottom line is I didn't want to wait for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days shipping to get the cooling unit I needed. So basically I went to Best Buy. I was hoping they would have the Cooler Master device available. They did not. And so I bought whatever they had. They had a freaking Corsair available. So I was not planning on buying a liquid cooler. I have no desire to mess with liquid cooling. I mean, look, I wouldn't, maybe I'd experiment one day and build a liquid cooling device from the ground up just for shits and giggles. But like, I really didn't want to. If I was a mad genius, I'd be building a liquid cooling loop myself, wouldn't I? But I've been avoiding that like the plague. Maybe that's why I am a genius, because I have the good sense to avoid that shit like the plague. But, and that's Gator, by the way. I drew a picture of Gator from, you know, Gator, the puppet. Yeah, that's him. He says, the Star Wars. Anyway, I can't really do his voice. But anyway, let's get back to this shit here. Check on this telescope here. And hopefully this, 25 minutes, man. Well, okay, oh yeah, so two things I gotta do. All right. In order of operations. First, this, oh yeah, there we go. Look at that, my friend. You can see the Veil Nebula. I'll open up that reticle a little bit so you can see it better. But you see, like, so theoretically now, of course, there's some video compression between me and the backyard computer with the particular remote desktop application. Oh no, you know why it looks like shit right now? I forgot to do this. So we can fix that. How many exposures is that? 20 exposures, shit. Damn. Okay, let's see if I can figure out how to fix this. 1, 2. Okay, there we go. So now we're gonna relock the target. 3, 2, 1, mark. And then, nice. I'm the 100th shopper. Do I get a reward? $1 million or some shit? Let's see. Okay, so we got the Veil Nebula, but we had to turn on auto guiding. So that's okay because I have the file name designating it in such a way that I know it won't be an issue. Uh-oh. There we go. Got it fixed. Yeah, no worries. Messing around anyway, man. But it is an honor. It is an honor. No reward necessary, but it is an honor. Wouldn't it be like, well, Mr. Ronnie G? Wouldn't it be Mr. G? Nah, jokes aside, Mr. Ronnie G works since G is not my last name unless G means gangster or, you know, I'm a G. Like, you know, like in the hood or something. So let's see here. So we got that shit lined up, and I think, like, I vaguely remember a while back I was doing it in hydrogen and OV3. And basically hydrogen gives you like a ruby red color, and it does a good job of cutting out on light pollution. And then OV3 is the one that like handles whatchamacallit, like it gets you that like greenish color. So what I should do actually is, even though I know I'm not gonna have enough time to do red, blue, and green, this is where things are gonna get interesting. I'm gonna put it in for like a 5-minute exposure. Whoops, don't want to crash the computer, don't want to crash it. Gotta be careful, Okay, gotta give that a second. Okay, we'll give you a breather, little laptop there, alright? Yeah, alright. Be a good little laptop. Yeah, I gotta bring the turtle back on soon. Let's see. I mean, you know, I try to leave them alone, you know, I don't want to bother them too much, you know, they're good kids. But you know, like turtles, like they I think some people say they want some attention, but they also kind of like being left alone at times. All right, there we go. No, I'm not on a laptop right now. This is a laptop. Let me rephrase it. So the i9, this is my desktop right here, right? That's the i9 I've been sitting on this whole time in front of me, the machine. But the computer with the telescope hooked up, unfortunately, I got to rerun the cable. I got to get a new cable. I'm probably going to order more direct burial cable so I can really protect it from the lawnmower. The cable in the backyard is and I need to rerun the camera cable. But normally during a stream like this, I would have a cable running to that camera. And then I can, like, you know, show you the telescope in action because that's way cool and you can see the telescope aiming at shit. But no, this computer with the telescope hooked up to it, that is a laptop. There's a laptop in a plastic tub in my backyard right now. I can prove it because you can see it's got a much weaker CPU. It's got an i5 7th generation instead of an i9 9th generation. It's got, actually, it's got 2 cores. It don't really have quad cores. It's got 2 cores with hyper-threading. It's packing only 12 gigs of RAM. I never upgraded the RAM. That's kind of lazy of me. I really should do that, huh? I should just throw, like, over broke, throw 32 gigs into that shit, you know? And then what's unique about this laptop that really got me through, I got this thing out of the e-waste recycling heap at Best Buy. And I got this, like, back in, like, 2017, maybe? 2018? Around 2018 out of the recycling heap. And this thing was packing a GeForce 950M with 4 gigs of video RAM. And like at the time, my desktop had like some random old Radeon with 2 gigs in it. So having a laptop with a 4 gig GeForce was like a night and day difference. Like, I mean, I started playing games on a computer again because I actually, you know, could enjoy it and stuff. And so this laptop, I respect it thoroughly. But yeah, that one's a laptop. But yeah, no, I got Old Faithful right here. I got a nice big full tower case here. That's why I'm getting that monster of a radiator for it. So now, wait, what was I doing? Okay, good. We can do the plate solving now. So let's get to it. So we got to do find a picture. Is I want to make sure we got a good target lock. Then we're going to disable the auto guiding right now because I don't want it to be confused. Dude, you're going to love this. I'm shooting with this telescope in New York State. Not the good part of New York State, not the freaking upstate shit where, like, you know, it's fucking, you know, nice and good with astronomical weather. Nah. We're in like you know, no, we're down here. Let me see. I got Aviation Weather Center is like my friend. So usually what I do is I do like the continental US. Okay, so I usually use this before an astronomy session to kind of like plan to make sure there's not going to be a lot of clouds. So I'm in the Staten Island area right here. So Staten Island, New York is, you know, just south of Bayonne and Jersey City. And it is to the left of Brooklyn. And it is just about to the southwest or slightly southwest. Like Manhattan is over there. So when they do the 9/11 memorial, sometimes they have like, I think they stopped doing the 9/11 memorial like they used to do it. But they have these like obscenely bright lights that like are just bad for like, hey, that's weird. Rumble is not showing my stream. Is it? Oh, there we go. Good. Rumble is working. So yeah, like you got like, you know, that thing can mess up my, so sometimes like when it's not during the month of September, if they're doing the 9/11 memorial with the big bright beams of light that is supposed to project where the towers used to be, I would call it cursed ground, to be honest. That's basically where I would not point my telescope. But generally, the meridian, which is directly overhead, is good. And if we really want to show like another one, this is the goes east imagery. So sometimes I'll have clear weather, like I won't have any clouds, visible clouds, and I'll go to use my telescope and I'll get a bunch of crap that's messing with my imaging. And sometimes it could be wildfires, sometimes it could be smoke or air quality. But other times you'll have like a hurricane or something like that, and you'll get these high altitude ice crystals. This is the, like, literally says day cloud phase, night microphysics, and it has some shit to do with like cloud tops and ice crystals and fog. And like basically it'll look like a river of dark reddish shit passing over the edge of Staten Island. That's what it looked like one time. So it's like I was just on the edge of it, but it was enough to really mess up my imaging, even though I couldn't visually see it. So that gives you an idea of where I'm at. And so how am I coping with light pollution, my friend? Well, basically I cope with light pollution by so basically like oh cool, that's kind of cool. So anyway, the light I gotta hit that button. So the way I deal with light pollution is we use filters. So for example, instead of using a color camera, I can do red, blue, and green. If you ever look up a term, it's called a Bayer matrix, like Bayer aspirin. So every color camera actually has a black and white sensor on it. It's measuring shades of gray. But if you have a red color filter in front of a black and white sensor, you can convert those shades. So instead of it being a black and white camera, you convert the color white into red. So now you got a black and red image. Then when you use a green filter, which is next to the red, it measures black and green. And then you do black and blue. And when you combine red, blue, and green together, you get the real color intensity. So there's a way to convert like black and white with a color filter in front of the black and white sensor. They used to do this back in the day on the moon too, when they had the old picture tubes for the cameras. And then the way we also cope with light pollution a step further is by using these narrow band filters. So I can give you a little like spectrograph or spectrum in a second. But to do that, I want to make sure I get this teed up, because whenever I change a filter, almost whenever I change a filter, it loses the focus. So I have to like basically like, that's another thing. You can set offsets to tell it like, hey, automatically adjust the focus whenever I change my filter. And sometimes that works. And you could tell it precisely how much to change it. But that's another situation where I would kill to have working autofocus. So real quick, let me just get this adjusted, and then I'm going to show you a spectrum or something that will give you like an idea. Because basically, you know, if you put a prism in front of like sunlight, you get the rainbow, right? You get red, blue, and green. And ionized hydrogen, which is basically electrically charged hydrogen gas, like on the sun, or light that comes from stars that reflects off of a nebula, is a ruby red color. But really, if this is red, blue, green, ionized hydrogen is in the middle of red, but it's a sliver this wide. It's like literally like 4 nanometers wide to 30 nanometers wide. So what I do is I can choose to do an 8 nanometer wide, like a radio dial, or I could do 4 nanometers wide. And basically the idea is that you're only going to collect the color red in that very specific shade of red, and you're going to block everything else out. And even when I'm using a regular broadband filter, which shows the regular color red, green, and blue that you and I can see in real life, even then these filters will try to block out light that comes from sodium lamps. It'll try to block out light that comes from mercury vapor lamps, like on my turtle tank, for example, or in a parking lot. There's white lights in a parking lot that are not LEDs that take a minute or two to warm up. Those are mercury vapor lamps. And so the idea is that if you can, like, you know, use a filter that lets in all of the light you want while blocking out all of the undesirable wavelengths, you can do better. No, so that's another thing. I think I do have pictures on previous streams, and even like during a live stream, I have a live view of the backyard. And in short, in fact, I could probably get you a picture of it from a recording. Give me 1 second. But I have a cover that I put over it. Basically, it's like a canvas, rubber coated canvas. And I would love to have a semi-indoor observatory setup or something, but I'm able to cover it from the elements and keep it out in the winter. What I do is in the winter, I keep the cooling unit on, and it emits excess heat. That helps. And some people will even put like a 20 or 40 watt light bulb inside of the protective cover for their telescope to keep it like to keep it like warm enough to avoid condensation. Yeah, so these filters are physical, so it's almost like the drum on a Tommy gun. I'm gonna find a picture here. I know I got a picture here. I'm sure I got a picture. In fact, this application should give me the folder where it saves the pictures. Yeah, so you can put a filter on the front of a lens, right? You can also, in astronomy, put the filter on the back of on the back. You can put the filter in front of the image sensor, and that's how I'm doing it. So let's see here. Did this application open up yet? There it is. All right, good. Sort of. It goes behind the lens. It's a little weird because in normal photography, you would put the filters in front of the lens. But the problem in astronomy is you can't exactly do that, because like we could have an 8-inch aperture on a reflecting telescope. We could have a what do you call it? A much smaller. We could have like a 4-inch. But things get expensive. So what we want is like a 30 millimeter filter that's like this big, and that costs $300 each narrowband filter. And that's better than spending $3,000 for like a big monster piece of well-polished glass, you know? So it gets a little weird, but yeah, I gotta find the folder where this saves at. I forget for some reason. And this application is not telling me where I store it at. Is that it? Oh, here it's on my E drive. Okay. Give me 1 second. Right, it's on my E drive. There it is. All right, good. Like I said, my camera had a altercation with a lawnmower. There's like some video footage in here of me covering the telescope in the rain. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just tightening up the focus. And where's that video? I thought I double clicked on that shit. We open. Oh, here it is. So, see, there's like the weeds growing around it. You can see the canvas cover right there. I think what's... That's a Sunday night. So, that's a Sunday night. So, you know, you're probably not going to see me go out. Oh, hey, what's that? Is that me on the telescope? No, it's not, just sunrise. Friday, 11. Okay, so this would be a night where you might actually see me putting the cover on or removing the cover from this scope. Oh, there it is. All right, so somewhere in the previous video, I removed the cover. See some... Oh, hey, what the hell happened? All right, that one looks like it got corrupted. So, unfortunately, I don't have a video of me removing the cover, but you can see that's the scope right there, right? You know, it's not being used yet. Now, if we skip forward, we might... Oh, there we go. Yeah. So, that's me operating the thing, right? So, you can see that on the back of the scope, we have the guide scope. That's the one that we use PhD 2 on. And we could probably... let me just make an adjustment here. Yeah, so basically... is some older footage, but you can see like I'm gonna skip through that real quick. So when I'm aiming the telescope, I can hit a button on my computer or my phone, and I think at this point I was actually fighting with it. I think this is a day when I was having trouble with it. Maybe actually, I think it was working fine this day. But last week, there we go. So you can see the thing is slewing, and this thing's at a 40-degree angle because it's aligned with the North Star basically, so or with the celestial or North Pole. And there's actually a little hidden scope behind the back of the scope. In fact, I should probably enable the cursor. There we go. So yeah, on the back of this here, there's actually a mini scope on this 45-degree angle. There's a mini scope that you use for manually aligning it, but I have a camera mounted, a little camera mounted I can turn on when I want to do polar alignment. I have to adjust some bolts, and I got to adjust the angle of this part to polar align it. And once that happens, the motor that rotates this on the axis with the counterweights and the scope will literally allow me to counter the rotation of the Earth pretty much perfectly. And then the other part is north-south declination. So this is east to west. And in the front to back-ish is declination. But bottom line is this mechanically is not perfect. So this little scope will use another piece of software, which I'll show you right here. So the little scope that's piggybacked on the main scope uses this program here. And then, whoops, I made an oopsie. I got to fix it right now. There we go. So now whenever a star goes down or up, this graph will show that it's making corrective pulses, because this little baby scope up here, that little baby scope is actually the one it's using the sensor data. So if it sees the star is moving down half a pixel or up half a pixel, it'll literally tell the motor, hey, you're going too fast. Hey, you're going too slow. Hey, slow down, speed up, slow down, speed up. Go north, go south. And that's what it's doing over here. So that's auto guiding right there. And let's get back to this guy here. So now we got to go and, am I in focus yet? I might have overshot the mark. Again, I'm going to check. Whoops. Really beautiful outside too. Like the air is very nice. And I'm getting eaten alive by mother effing mosquitoes while doing this in the video. So that's what's going on there. And at some point, there's a live stream on Pacific 414 channel where I'm running outside. There we go. So that's like when the grass is a little shorter. But you can see like that's the canvas cover. And this thing will sit there, rain or shine, and then that's when the camera's hooked up. I can actually pan the cool thing, and I think this is before a storm. I was trying to line it up to see lightning or some cool shit. Oh yeah, this was cool. Spock's Friday Nights was tuned in on this one when I did this. So there's a spider here. How cool is that? Yeah, we had like a spider crawling in front of my camera there. So that was kind of fun. Yeah, so that was like me derping around when the weather wasn't so good. And then that's the scope once again. So, you know, you get an idea there. That's how we roll here. Okay, let me focus. Holy, okay, it's not that late yet. I mean, it's getting there, but it's not as bad. Yeah, so believe it or not, I had this cool telescope called a Celestron C8. And the Celestron C8 is a beautiful orange tube. It's 8 inches wide on the front. It's got a lens with a like obstruction in the middle. And that obstruction is actually a backwards facing mirror called a secondary mirror. And on the back of this 8-inch wide tube, it's about yay long. It's like it looks like a little garbage can. Is a bowl-shaped mirror with a hole in the middle, and what you do is you put your eyepiece or camera down the back of it, and the light goes up the center of the cone, so it's actually going, like, if this is the eyepiece, there's a cone-shaped mirror in the back. It's not quite steep like this. It's a much more subtle, you know, curve. There's a little mirror in the center of this bottle here, and the rest of this is lens. So the light goes down like this. It bounces off the bowl-shaped mirror, which forms a cone of light going to the center mirror like that. Then, once it bounces off the center mirror, it goes down the center and hits the image sensor or the camera. that one was cool, but it had so much magnification or such a narrow field of view. I bought this telescope, which actually has a wider field of view, and that means less zoom, but it also means it's a lot more forgiving when you're operating it. So, you know, it's just, that's why. Now it's me just testing and adjusting it. I think the video is glitching here. Oh, yeah, actually, to answer your question before, okay, this was why I was showing you the video. It's really important. Okay, so on the back of the telescope, there's like the really important question here. So I need to answer this. So on the back of the telescope, that's the camera, shaped like a cylinder. It's got an image sensor, basically just an image sensor with a cooling unit. And that cooling unit, we can see in the software here, is set to negative 15 degrees Celsius. The less noise you have, the less heat you have, the less noise, the less grainy. Because cameras in low light conditions will convert heat into noise or graininess. So anyway, what we do is we have a carousel full of filters here. There's 7 filters loaded on this, and each one sits in front of the sensor, but on the back of the lenses, basically. And that's how we're operating. So we do that because we really can't afford to put a big filter here. Now, what's interesting is they have mine of 36mm filters. They do have 2-inch filters that reside in larger filter wheels or filter wheels with lower capacity. So it could hold 5 2-inch filters or 7 36mm filters. I could physically put a 2-inch filter on the front of this here. And in fact, somewhere on the imaging train, a little hard to see, but right here, so the filter wheel is here, that has the carousel filters, goes in front of the image sensor and behind the optics. Over here, there's another filter that is a light pollution suppression filter, or moon and sky glow filter. So when the moon is in full force, it creates sky glow that can create annoying light pollution. So what I do is I can mount that to the front of this little scope here if I was using it for imaging in the field, because this is a good portable scope. It's almost like an SLR lens, or you can attach it to an SLR if you want. Or put an imager on the back like I did here. But I put the light pollution suppression filter here. Then I have the other filters here. So essentially it's suppressing light pollution from the start, or sky glow. And then the narrowband filters will really isolate the wavelengths that I want. So that's essentially what we mean by filters. And sometimes you can put the filter directly on the front of the camera, but that's annoying. Like before I had a filter wheel, yeah, I could take the camera out, screw on a filter, and put it back on. But, you know, I really don't want to be shaking this thing up. You know what I mean? Like, I just want this thing to be untouched once it's doing its freaking thing. So that's how I roll. And that's the gist of how that works. I'm just going to double check my focus. I'm going to get back to the chat and double check my focus. Where's the chat? There it is. Yeah, I think I might have. Yeah, so essentially because, oh yeah, I see. Well, I went backwards, so now we're gonna go forwards. Yeah, so what happens is, an image sensor's job, each pixel or photo site on a image sensor is responsible for converting photons into electrons. And so if you have more photons, it's going to generate more electrons. You know, that's how you get more signal. But in a situation where you have heat, it will also happily convert the heat into, you know, electrons. It's a little sketchy, but I'm going to stick with this setting for now. And we got the auto guiding engaged already. And we're going to crank up the exposure. So we're going to keep temperature at negative whatever. We're going to do a 300-second exposure, which is going to kind of suck because we're going to have to wait like 5 minutes for that shit to come through. We're going to have to wait 10 minutes for the next exposure to come through. So, you know, it's almost like, I understand you want to get a snack, you want to come back, you know, hell, I might be looking at my TV eating popcorn by the time that happens, and then I'll come back to my computer screen. But, you know, that's what we have. So let's see here. That's a good question, actually. Oh shit, I got to change the setting here. Okay, give me 1 second. Wait, actually, I can kill two birds with one stone. 1 second. I gotta fix something here. So you don't want to have to make it a line again. Oh, I think I can get away with that because before I do the 300-second exposure, I can do like say a 5-second exposure, 10-second exposure. We're gonna do that right now. So we're gonna give that a shot and see what happens. So now it's gonna take about 10 seconds. Boom. Okay, that's 10 seconds. Now let's pray that we get something. Good. We got some signal here. We even got a hint of nebula. So now we're gonna take a picture because I want to verify that this thing. I don't remember what I was doing when I was talking before. So we're gonna like just take care of that right now. So 3:38 a.m. There we go. 3:38 a.m. is corresponding. We'll let it get one more picture. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Boom. All right. Start solving. We're going to tell it to stop correcting because I don't think you're supposed to run the auto guiding at the same time that it's doing this. Especially once it applies the correction, you're not supposed to run it. And it gets a little murky. I have a list of questions. Now that I understand what I'm doing better, I have to post questions into the forums. There's actually a popular forum named Cloudy Nights. Yeah, ironic, right? It's like cloudy nights are the bane of our existence in astronomy. And yeah, like where I'm at right now, like it's been weeks of like cloudy nights. So anyway, what I want to do is I want to find the subtitle thing. So the guy who did this said that there was a trick to this. I have to like, there was like an Indian guy on YouTube and he's like, you play the movie and you have to align the waveform with the subtitle text. And okay, this thing just popped. All right, so we're gonna hit yes. Now what I should have done was put this on like here, but that's okay. We're gonna be able to see it anyway. Okay, we're a little bit off target, I think, but it's not much. See, like, it drifted a little bit. So we're going to press Control-1, mark. Okay, there we go. Now we're on target. Now we're going to let it, you know, pick up the slack a little bit. They call it backlash when the gears have, like, the gears move, but they have a little bit of, like, you know, move forward, move back. You're going to have a little bit of this, like, period where it's got to re-engage the gear, so to speak. And that takes a little bit of time. So we watch the backlash to make sure that we actually have it. And it looks like it didn't move a lot, so we're good. Or it was already moving west because the motor is always moving west anyway. Okay, and we're going to lock our target on my mark. All right, target locked, auto guiding engaged. Then we go back here. We have the histogram heavily stretched, so we see a lot of noise. That's okay. And we're going to hit stop. We're going to crank it up to 300 seconds because, remember, it sucks, but the first exposure is a waste. Until I do an overhaul on this laptop. I don't know if you were here earlier in the stream, but I mentioned that I thought it was going to rain or be cloudy this weekend. So I literally took the laptop inside and I was going to start, I cleaned it. I was going to do physical work on it. And then I found out it wasn't going to rain tonight. I could see, I rode my bike at like midnight, saw that I could visually see the stars. And I was like, well, shit, it's not going to rain tomorrow either. So I have no excuse. So I put the, oh, cool. Look at that. You can see that streak over there. Now that might be part of the meteor shower that I'm not paying attention to right now, but there's like a meteor shower in progress right now. And generally the best way to do a meteor shower, or one of the better ways, is to have a wide field imager. In fact, even the baby scope on the back of the main scope, which is shown here, if configured appropriately, could probably handle that type of work better than the big scope. The guide scope, I should say, can handle it better. That could be a satellite. That could be Starlink. Starlink satellites are certainly pretty common. That could be a meteorite, or you know, from the meteor shower. Not really sure, but yeah, I just wanted to show you that. And I'm gonna just recenter my reticle. It's my different reticles are different for useful things, but I like to make it about 45 degrees. It doesn't have to be perfect. Although if you're superstitious about numbers, you might try to get the perfect number. But anyway, just something like that, you know. and now I have it ready, so it's going to record every 5 minutes. It's going to record a new picture, but the first picture is going to be blank. The next picture is going to be good, and then somewhere around 5 a.m., the sky is going to start turning to twilight, and it's going to be pointless to keep imaging, but that's all right. And then at some point, I have to remember to turn off the cooling unit because I could cook the camera by accident if I don't turn it off on a hot day, although tomorrow is not at risk. So now let's check on my subtitles now that this thing is, on standby. Okay, because this is like super duper important here. Like, I need to fix this. Now, you could hear some of the sound here. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful musical score for this movie, but I'm not going to play it too loud. But I will rant briefly about people who prefer Robotech over Super Dimension Fortress Macross. They're missing out. That's all I'm going to say right now. All right, so I should probably watch what the and there's different parts in this where you can actually hear them speaking English. Oh yeah, there we go. I had to scroll down. If that's the shower, I'm not really sure if this is a meteor shower or a whatchamacallit, satellite. Either way, it's cool. Skull Angel and Apollo Squadron, start your engines. Someone said thank you to somebody in the movie. Let me see. I think if you zoom out at just the right rate, you can actually read the text. Oh yeah, here we are. Okay. So that's how this works here. Well, not so much a rogue satellite, although we could check Stellarium and we could actually see if it's on a list or something like that. So for example, okay, we know what I'm looking at right here. Sometimes you will literally see like moving dots that are satellites. You can click on them. And only problem is there's so many Starlink satellites. I don't even think, yeah, it's not going to really give me like a direct search, but sometimes I'll stumble into them. The web-based version of Stellarium, like it's called Stellarium Web, will definitely show you the satellites by search and by list. This would be a little trickier, but like I say, sometimes I'm trained on a target, I'm tracking a target, and I'll see a satellite. And when you're looking at the International Space Station, you gotta like manually aim the telescope. You'll literally unlock the motors and try to like slew the telescope by hand, which I've never done. But anyway, man, it was good seeing you. Thanks for dropping in. I'm just gonna, like I said, in 10 minutes, it's gonna get the next, in 5 minutes, it's gonna have the next frame. The first actual frame of the Veil Nebula using the ionized oxygen filter, which is O3. After that, if it's looking good, I'm going to leave it looping automatically, maybe tighten up the focus a little bit, but minimally, just kind of like, compensate for temperature changes. And like I said, my focus is fixing my Macross subtitles. Right now, my subtitles are out of sync, and I want to fix these so that I can watch the rest of this lovely movie before bed. I mean, look at that. That's a space aircraft carrier right there. But anyway, jokes aside, thanks for dropping by. You have a good night, and may the Schwartz be with you. And now I'm going to focus on this for anybody else who drops by. And like I said, that's the plan. I'm sticking to it. And I'll try to edit my Babylon 5 reaction tomorrow. So I think it was 14 seconds backwards. All right, for anybody else who tunes into this stream today or in the replay, I'll explain what I'm doing here. So while waiting for my telescope to get me the next picture of the Veil Nebula in about 4 minutes, I am attempting to fix the subtitles to my Super Dimension Fortress Macross Do You Remember Love Blu-ray disc. This is basically Robotech but better, but unfortunately, it's not. This particular version does not have the English audio, and the subtitles that I was able to obtain for it that did not come with my Blu-ray are out of alignment. So I've decided that I'm going to take it upon myself to fix that. So what we're doing here is we got some audio, and then right here the Zentradi talk. So what I'm looking to see is this the text. You say that the vessel does not belong to Meltron. Let's see here. And actually, I heard the word Meltron in this, so I know that that's the correct word. So why is the subtitle out of place? That's about 52 seconds in, by the way. And the dialogue starts over here at 106. So if we do the math, let's see if we can get an exact count on that. So we got about 52.4 seconds or 52.5. Yeah, about 52.5 seconds. And let's see, that would be about 102 would be 10 seconds. $13, $14. So this is actually pretty much what I calculated. I have a 14-second offset. Oh God, I made a mistake there. Okay, well, we can fix that. Set start and offset the rest. That might be it. That might be all I have to do. So an Indian gentleman did a video, and that might literally be all I got to do. So we're going to see if this works. Now, for some reason, I think the Zentradi in this movie are actually speaking in their own alien language. And so they have Japanese subtitles here to, like, you know, for the Japanese viewer. Now, my audio is really low because I'm really not trying to get claimed. Correct. Our previous battles, we found of micron-sized ships in the wreckage of the enemy ships. I shall show you. Micron size. Indeed, it seems that these do not belong to Meltron, which are female Zentradi. Furthermore, a number of our soldiers received strange sound signals near the enemy vessel and became confused and unable to fight. Unable to fight? What kind of power could they have aboard that ship? So you get the idea. So it looks like this is working. Then they're going to play the cool Macross song, which I'm going to totally goose up the volume on it because it's a good song. I hope they play it. Da, 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 da. Maybe not. I'll rewind if they come up to it. It's a cool song. See, is that not better than the Robotech song? Which is not a bad song, I'll admit. Now, you actually have people speaking English on the ship. Like operations staff. Also, SDF-1 looks way huger in this. That's another thing. You can see, like, it looks like a proper command center type setup. It's not like this claustrophobic bridge of a ship anymore like it was in the TV series. So that's kind of interesting. And ARMD-1, Armored 1, Armored 2, which are the ships that get basically like totaled in the original first or second episode of Macross. They're attached to the ship here. So instead of having to carry a Prometheus and Daedalus, instead of having the cool Daedalus attack, they have a attack similar to it, I believe, but they're using actual spaceships that were designed to be used with SDF-1, so that's kind of interesting. And so anyway, bottom line is my subtitles look like they're in sync, but I'm going to keep playing it back to verify it. I'm going to have to lower the audio again just to not cause any issue. All systems green. So you got like English and Japanese mixed in there. It is UN forces. He says thank you. Now, can I maybe offset it a little bit earlier? Maybe. See, that's why I'm playing it back right now. I need to see if I should adjust it a bit more. Me. Dun, 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 dun. This will get me copyright claimed. Dun, dun, dun. Choo, 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 choo. Yeah, apparently Zoom in Japanese is Kyun. All right, somebody's gonna clip that. Now she's gonna sing Chow Pai Lan. So it's really important. No, I need to get these subtitles in sync. So I'm gonna go zoom in about 100%. I might even make this bit. Oh, and real quick, let's check the telescope. It's all right. I can fix that. I can adjust that. You can see that's the Veil Nebula. We can crank it down a little bit, right? We can try to crank it up a little bit. Uh-oh. We hit a cloud. But we're going to just capture that and see how we go. Tighten up the focus a little bit here and there. And we'll let it rip. And this is going to keep firing off images in ionized oxygen until I go to bed. And this is a pretty good stream tonight. Weeks ago, I had like a sleepwalking stream. And man, that was a little embarrassing. I'm glad I was able to come back from that. So anyway, here we are. So here's my goal right here. We got Lin Min Mei speaking. And I need to make sure that my subtitles align when she speaks. So it looks like I could actually offset the subtitles a bit. Yes, we could definitely offset the subtitles a bit. But I gotta say, the guy who did the video on how to fix this. Okay, it looks good so far. Now we're gonna skip ahead to the middle of the movie. This time the subtitles are a little bit early, which is not bad. It's just I am gonna try my best here. So I could probably make the subtitle offset a little later. Let's go later in the movie. Gotta say, I didn't realize this would be that easy. I could probably offset a little later. All right, you know what? I think it's good enough. So how do I save this now? I literally have no idea. So we're gonna try this out here. So we can hit save. Yeah, I don't care if that is a negative duration line. Okay, so that looks like the subtitles I just created now. Now, I would like to save them in a different format. But I'm a little concerned here. Let me double check here. Oh, good. I can do it as an SRT file. So we're going to do two things. We're going to paste in the sub file, and we're going to save the SRT file to this folder. So basically now I have these three items in the folder, and when I play the movie, it might actually work. So if I have these subtitles in the same folder, okay, so those subtitles look good. So if I put all of these in the same folder, and I guess to be sure, we'll verify the I think it's correct. Yeah, I think the name is correct. Now, can I put a colon in the file name? I don't even know if I can do that. No, I can't do that. Now, I can't really put a hyphen in there, right? So now we'll keep that thing running. And I'm going to really quickly make a quick SSH connection. All right. And I think this is actually the original Blu-ray. So in other words, this one probably won't even play correctly over the network anyway. Because that's why, one of the reasons I re-encoded it. So we got this folder here contains the cartoon I want and everything I want. In fact, I'm going to copy just the folder. I'm going to copy this folder to this folder here. Then I love when autocomplete doesn't work. Is it misspelled? Oh, I misspelled it. So basically, I'm renaming the file with a hyphen so I can identify it. It said permission denied, so I say, okay, here's my password. And then I can take that file in that exact file name. And I can say mv or sudo mv dot slash and we got multiple files here, unfortunately, which is a little confusing, but I should be able to check the date. And basically the ones from 4:09 a.m. are good. So we got the Blu-ray one. Oh, you know, okay. So we got two videos and two subtitle files. So basically, as I understand it, these two subtitle files should just work as long as they have the right file name. So we have to make sure that this file name is like that. And then when I go into the MB Media Player app, which is not that one, that is weird. There we are. Too many tabs. All right, so hopefully I just imported a subtitle. I'm probably going to run this video encoding in the morning using the slow setting. Oh, that's annoying when it happens. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't sharing my screen again. So basically we're scanning the library for new files. Then we're looking for the movie that I just added, which apparently the search feature doesn't want to work all of a sudden. That's moderately annoying. Oh, here it is. So now we got the original Blu-ray and we got the one from Hybrid that should have the subtitles on it. Those are the SRT subtitles. So when I play it back on my TV in a moment, I should be good to go. That looks good. It's in sync. So when I play it on my TV, I can play it through the Chromecast here, but I'm probably just gonna, let it be. So now this here, we're just gonna let that be. And I don't even know if anybody's in the chat right now. I haven't checked the chat in a minute, but I'm going to bed now. So I want to thank anybody and everybody who's tuned in tonight. Like I say, I'm just gonna let the sun rise, let the twilight show up, and hopefully I'll be able to like process this, somehow into some, meaningful astronomical raw data. I've tightened up the focus in 5-step increments. We're using ionized hydrogen, right? Ionized oxygen, actually. Offset 30, 1700 on the gain. That should give me the best dynamic range. Temperature is set to negative 15s, and it's only using about 60% power right now. So, tomorrow I just have to, when I wake up, make sure I crank down the power and make sure if it's going to rain that I preempt it. But with that being said, I want to thank you for watching again, and I'm going to power down this computer so it doesn't cook my room. As soon as I verify that we're not using up a lot of power. In fact, wait, I got to close everything actually. I got to do this in an orderly manner, right? You can't just end the stream. You got to like end it in an orderly manner. And I think the way you do that is, I could be wrong, but I'm going to do it by clicking end stream in the, wait, what's that? Oh, that's my camera. I'm going to click on end stream and see what happens. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave a comment. And for now, we shall end transmission.